Now it's time to set up the backend for this one. So let's go back to our setup. And this is our setup here. What we'll do is, if you are using the course pack again, you don't need to do this, but this is how I have built the course pack. We'll start with npm init. If you don't have npm, it's best to install npm using the node version manager. So it's like nvm for this one, and so I'm using nvm 12. nvm to install node version 12. So if I do this, node version 12, npm is the node package manager. So to initialize our system to be able to save the dependencies, we will use npm init. So it will ask you particular questions. So package name, so let's say backend basics. I use this one 0.0.0. So this is a semantic versioning of your system. So we start at 0.0.0. Description is, well, of course, backend basics. Entry point is index.js, so that's okay. Test command, we'll add a test command later. Git repository, it allows you to save your repository, which is this one that we have used, to a remote repository for later access, as well as when you're let's say submitting a particular piece of code to a team repository. So this is one. Keywords will not do anything about it right now, but this is for searching if you want to publish this in the node package manager website. And the author, I would just write myself here. And license, I'm using MIT for this one, the MIT license. We can use Apache 2.0, or, well, this one is ISC, but I like to use MIT for this one. So is this okay? Yes. And that creates the package JSON, which you can see here. So we have put in here the values. There's no tests, so that means if I do an npm test, it will say an error because exit 1. If I do an exit 0 here, it means that there are no errors. So usually exit 1 means there is an error. That's why it shows up here. And echo no test specified, so that's something. And that is how we do an npm init. Now we'll add index.js and we'll commit this first. Package.json, git commit m for add package.json. There's no feature yet that we have added. And then index.js, git commit m chore add index.js. So if you look at the logs again, these are the history. If some developer is looking at the history and sees, okay, he has added the package.json, and then next is add index, you're telling the story of your developments. That's something that we would like to be mindful about, especially if you're working in teams. So now that this is done, let's add a start script here. Oops, Ubuntu is ready. Let's add a start script here that says node index.js, and also let's add console.log here, start. So let's add them up again. This time let's add all because we're doing the same thing. Commit m. This is a feature already. Add the ability to run index.js and show start. So again, if I do this, if you look at the package.json, it says node index.js. So if we do in node index.js, we can see that the script has been run from this one, which is to just print the word start. Or maybe let's use hello world. So let's just add git add all shortcut chore change from start to hello world. Well, it's not really a chore. Well, yeah, we can use chore for this one. So if we do this again, node index.js, it's actually a mouthful if we do this. But if we just try npm start, it actually runs the script that you have put there and show it up here. And now we'll install the necessary items or necessary dependencies for this one. So to install a dependency, we use npm again and use install command and have it using -- save if you want to use it as well in production. So if you want to use it in production, we use save and the name of the module that we want to install, which is Fastify. Now the thing with Fastify is that usually for tutorials, they would go for Express, which is the most popular backend framework. But for me, Fastify is something that I grew to love in terms of easier way to code, as well as later on I'll show you how it looks like if we add open API specifications or the ability to create specifications easily. The other thing is Fastify is faster than Express in terms of benchmarks. So there, let's go again with Fastify. So it will take some time to load this one up. Don't worry again if you don't need to do this if you are using the course pack, because it is already installed in your system. Now for this one, you'll see node modules here, and then if I do a git status, there's a lot of files that as you can see here, there's like 900 pending changes. If we look at it, there's like a lot of files. It's actually the same as git status if you are using the IDE that I'm using right now, which is VS Code. So we will add, because we don't need to have to load this. If you're going to get this one from the internet, it's not a good idea to commit the node modules, because people can install them, and especially if the one that will be getting this system might be using Windows, the node modules in Windows or the system that are installed in Windows can be different from the systems that are installed in Unix or Mac. So it's best to use Git Ignore. So this allows us to ignore files or in folders. So I'll just add node modules here. And if I save, again, looking this one, there's the untracked files git modules. And if I do a git status, there's no more node modules, but I have to track Git Ignore. So let's add Git Ignore first. Git commit chore add Git Ignore to ignore node modules. Then git status. There's the package lock, which allows us to npm needs to see this. so that it knows what dependencies has been installed. So what we can do is git add all, git commit, or add Fastify as dependency. Oops, yeah. Okay, so after that, we'll start creating our simple server. So to be able to access Fastify, I deleted the hello world, and we would use Fastify is equals to require Fastify. If you look at the video before on how we load modules on Node.js, this is one way. And let's start with setting up the server. Fastify logger true. For now, we will trust the proxy. Well, this is something that I've already set. So then let's have server.get handler. So this is what I'm doing right now is access domain.com/ so for our example here, we will be using localhost / so this is the root, the root instance, root address. So I'm just adding documentation here. This one is initialize our server using Fastify, and this is an object. So an object with a handler. So we have a handler which is a function called that is async, and there's the request. We can have like console.log request, and we return, let's say, success true. So this is the response in JSON format. So JSON is something that is used in REST to REST API. So a RESTful API is the state. We are able to respond with the state of the server. So we'll just add this thing here. So which says, so we set a parameter. So this is how we document code if it's a function. This is a for now it's a star. So any request rec, this is the request parameter that is sent by the client. So that is something that we want to add for now. And then we'll just add a async function start here, which for our purposes we want to set the port. So I'm using parseInt to process env port, the 8080. So I'm just going to say that get the port from environment variable. That means if I do export port equals 8000 and node index.js or export port equals 8000, or it's part of the start, then port is equals to 8,000, else. So if this is the command, then port is equals to 8,000, else default is 8080. So this is what it's doing. We'll just put the address here. Oops, wrong spelling, wrong. Um, 0.0.0 const address is equals to, we do an await of the server listening to port and address, and then we'll just set console.log listening to or on ADER and start. So now that we are done, we'll just node index.js, or we'll just use npm start. So it says here port 8080. If we click on it, let's go for this one, localhost 8080, and we'll see the success through. So yeah, and this is where we see the request body shown here or printed in this part. Now, the thing with this part is that if I do any change, so like let's say hello world, and I save it, if I call it again, it will not do the hello world here because it doesn't know that the server has already been changed. So what you usually do is cancel it pressing Control C, or if you are on Mac, that is Command C, if I remember it right, and then you'll do a npm start again. But this is too much tedious, especially for people like me who is a little bit more lazy. So what I would do is install nodemon. So now I'm using install here, but I'm using the shortcut I, and instead of save, I'm using save dev. So if you look closely here, this is the dependency, and if I do this, so after that, you'll see that the file or the module has been installed on the dev dependencies. That means it is only going to be installed if you are developing your program or your system. But if it's running already on a production system, it will only install the dependencies. It lessens the installation time, and yeah, only the files that you need is saved. So now we'll change the script from using node index.js to npx nodemon. So if I do this npm start, you'll see that this one is seen here. If I refresh this, you'll see that it says hello world. If I change the file, so let's say, and added exclamation points, and I save it, you'll see that nodemon would restart because it saw the change. It will restart the server, and then if I do this again, refresh, it will now reflect what I have changed. So given this, that is how we start or create a server. So for now, we'll just stop the server and make some changes. So let's check the changes first. What we did in our system or in our IDE, I click on this one and I can see the changes, what I did if I click on a file. So I know that when I did index.js, I added this whole stuff here. On package, we package.json, we change index.js and replace it with nodemon. and added the nodemon dependency. So we can just add first index.js and then commit it. Feat, add the server, add a working server, and then git add all, git -m, sure, add nodemon to watch my changes and restart server. And that's it. That is how we create a server. And let's go to the next video.